Hi, this is Kendra from Pencil Pigment, and today I wanted to do an in-depth video, just trying to make sure this is all on screen, and I wanted to do one where I sort of put the question to you because I need some help. So I am still trying to figure out what to do for my budget for my NoBuy art supply, and I'm having a lot of trouble coming up with one, and I was kind of curious what you're going to do in the future for future years in 2023 moving forward for your budget. Like, I'm just going to ask you a bunch of questions and maybe you can help me. Are you doing like a percentage of your income for the month or for the year? Are you calculating it mathematically that way? Or are you just picking sort of an arbitrary number that sounds like something you don't want to go over, like an amount that seems excessive and so you're going to maintain under that amount? Or are you doing something that sort of, might flex? Like if your income is varying, then your expenditure will be varying. I have so many questions. Are you counting... Are you taking into account that things will go up in price as the years pass? So is there an amount for like inflation where every, 3 to 5 years you add $5 to $10? Again, I'm doing this in US dollar. But you know what I mean? Like things go up in price over time. Are you going to be accounting for that? My other question is, if you don't spend all your money, like if you have a set amount and you don't spend it, what are you doing with the remainder of the amount? Are you going to have like rollover? Does this go into next year's amount? So in case you need something larger, like a furniture piece, a new desk, maybe a new storage solution, you then have the budget for that? Or is it something where if you don't use it, you lose it because that's just the budget and your income isn't going to change the next year? Or are you doing something where, like, if you don't spend the money and don't use the amount, that what's left gets donated to like a school or something, a group trying to start like an art program for the next generation? Like, I'm so confused because initially when I look at, because I did a video and I know how I'm going to purchase moving forward, I'm going to divide it in half. My largest temptation being paper, and I'm going to purchase that first, and then 6 months later I'm going to purchase, the mediums, not the surfaces. And I'm trying to figure out, like, I could say $500, right? Because that's what I initially thought I had spent way back when I did a video about how much money I spent. And that's in my playlist if you're super interested. I thought I had spent $500, and that seemed like a lot. So if I made it $450, here's where I'm having like some trouble. So if I made it $450, right, for the year, that's not going to be a problem to maintain underneath that for 2023 or 2024, because this coming up year and the next year, I know exactly what I want to do. It's very strategic. And in knowing what I want to do, I know that I'm not going to be purchasing a lot of paper, a lot of surfaces to create on. So that's going to be fine. When I start looking at things like 2025, where I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing, and then I assume that in the next couple years, the sketchbooks I have left, I will be using on the side for other things. I will get into another video about other things and blurring lines between projects and household things going on. I will need to sort of replenish a huge amount of sketchbooks at some point, like watercolor books or bookbinding and making watercolor albums. and buying tons of paper. So when I hit 2025, I think that year is going to be very surface heavy, where I won't need as many supplies, but I'm going to need more surfaces. And it's those years, or whenever that sort of falls into place, that I just can't predict the future. And I don't know where I'm going to be at. And I think that 450 just isn't going to be enough for, say, like a dozen sketchbooks, you know, for the year. Like if I pick up 12, I'm not going to have anything left for backups or things I need to replenish for mediums if I have used some things up. So I'm not sure, because a 500 still sounds like a lot. Like I just can't figure out how I'm going to do this. And you guys in my comment section have some of the most amazing ideas and like different ways of looking at things than I look at things. And so I was just curious if I put this question to you of how you're going to calculate your budget, or maybe how you're calculating your budget now if you're doing a low buy, and what you've come up with and why. You guys see that? It's sort of gold and it sparkles. Anyway, I'm just so uncertain about the whole thing. Yeah, I don't see us having less income in the future. Like I see that, you know, just always moving up and up, but I just don't want to spend huge swaths of money where other things are going to be needed, you know, like our kids grow out of clothes and we've got college to think about, and like there's just so much going on. We need a new fence. Eventually we're going to need a second car. We don't need a second car right now, but eventually we'll need a second car. Like we have some things on the horizon, like I can see them coming up, where I'm just like, this is something that needs to be thought about and taken into consideration. Long-standing. So how are you doing that? Are you mathematically breaking it down, or are you going with sort of, you know, looking at your debts? Like our debts are mortgage and that's our only debt. How are you calculating and breaking it down? Or is it you're pulling from one budget and just sort of moving it over? Like if you have a coffee budget and you start making your own coffees instead of going out, are you then borrowing that money over for art supplies? Like my husband and I, we don't eat out. Like we make everything from scratch and we don't drink coffee. So there's really no, like we don't have cable or anything like that. We just have internet. We don't have a lot of expenditures that some folks have. You know, it's all relative to where you're at and what you're doing in your life. But when we look at ours, there aren't like a lot of cost-cutting things we can do. So I'm just trying to figure out what would be the amount, because I can't predict the future, how to go about like figuring that amount. And maybe I just make it 500, and then for the years that I know I don't need 500, it's 450. Like it's a flexed amount that goes situationally by year. So the first 2 years it's 450, and then it bumps to 500 for years where I know I'm out of sketchbooks. Like eventually I'm going to run out of sketchbooks, folks. Like that's the thing that's going to happen in my life. I do enjoy filling them so much. So I don't think that's going to surprise anyone that someday I'm going to run out. So I need to figure out how to do that. And maybe I have a different amount for years where I don't have sketchbooks anymore. I don't know. I don't know how to go about it and try and configure some of that stuff. So maybe you can help me in the comment section. If you have something you're doing that isn't anything I brought up or mentioned, or a different way that I should be looking at this and approaching this, let me know. I am super curious, and I'm always open to your ideas and the things you talk about for yourself, because they're always so clever. Like, this is such a creative community, artists are some of the most like creative people. So when you come up with ideas and say things in my comment section, I'm like, oh, I love that so much. That's wonderful. So I just wanted to put this question to you because I need help. I don't know what I should be doing. So thank you so much for listening to me ramble. Thank you so much for your future ideas in the comment section. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye.